Chapter 9, Bugle Duty. Trumpet players in the 1st U.S. Army Band at Fort Meade, Maryland, were given special assignments known as Bugle Duty. It rotated through the trumpet section so that one guy is the company bugler for the week. We had 12 trumpets in the 1st U.S. Army Band, so your week of bugle duty came up about once every 3 months. The commanding officer of the whole base really liked pomp and circumstance and the sound of a live bugle. He insisted that every weekday at 5 p.m. there would be an honor guard of 4 soldiers who would ceremoniously pull down the flag, complete with salutes, some silly marching and snapping to attention, and a bugler who would play the military bugle call, "To the colors." I can only remember one day when bugle duty was called off. There was a terrible blizzard. Visibility was down to about 10 feet by noon. They sent everybody home. We buglers performed that little 10-minute ceremony at 5 p.m. daily in sleet and snow and rain, in the coldest days and the hottest days, in our dress uniforms, in order to put on a little show and play a few notes for no one in particular. I cannot remember a single day when anyone was paying the least bit of attention. The officers were all rushing home to their cars to get home for their cocktails. One bitterly cold afternoon, I had left my car running so that it would be warm when bugle duty was over. The honor guard did it too. Unfortunately, on that day, I locked my keys in the car. The honor guard rushed off without helping. They weren't friends before, and they weren't looking to become friends then. It is an honor guard in name only. When I knocked on the door of the company headquarters, hoping some janitor might be kind enough to take pity, it was the company commander himself who answered, the most powerful man on base. I had seen him standing at the podium at many ceremonial events the band frequently played, so I recognized him. I explained my situation. He ran inside and grabbed a coat hanger and came out to my car in the bitterly cold and helped me break in. He didn't even take the time to get a winter coat. He must have been freezing, but he was jovial and fun to be around. I was totally surprised. There was another requirement of the bugle squad. This involved driving to cemeteries scattered all over the northeastern United States to perform taps for one of the hundreds of funerals we were assigned. Whenever there was a funeral for a soldier from the 1st U.S. Army who had been killed in combat, the families had an option to have a live bugler and an honor guard with a 21-gun salute perform at the funeral, no matter where the cemetery was. And there was a relentless stream of funerals in the 70s. At the height of the Vietnam War, when the caskets were coming home in bulk, we buglers were so busy that we had one guy that just stayed semi-permanently out on the road. We called him the Ghost Bugler. After he had played one funeral, the Ghost Bugler would call back into the Army Band headquarters to get his next assignment. There were so many funerals back then, they could always find one within a day's drive of the one he had just played. It was more efficient to have that one bugler, the Ghost Bugler, stay overnight in a hotel rather than returning to the base only to have a different bugler sent out. He lived on TDY, travel duty money, for every day he was on the road. He was so busy he didn't return to base for months. I can still remember the very first funeral I played. It was a lovely fall day in some quaint little town in Pennsylvania. There were about 50 mourners who gathered in a semicircle around a weeping teenage girl, swaddling an infant in her arms as the clergyman let forth with his eulogy. There were occasional sorrowful moans and wails. They all watched in stunned silence as the honor guard stepped through their routine of marching and saluting and snapping to attention. Then they fired their guns. Ready, aim, fire. Bang. Fire. Bang. Fire. Bang. The world grew completely silent. Then I began playing taps. By the third note, and for all the remaining 24 notes of taps, the gut-wrenching sound of wailing and sobbing rose to a fevered pitch. Tears were welling up in my eyes. I could barely finish playing.